All right, so I just wanted to make a sorry the sun's in my face, I can't see. I just wanted to make a quick video. I'm actually just God dang it's bright. I just wanted to make a quick video. Um, Something that I seen earlier just kind of made me want to make this video. It was a clip I seen of Willow, Willow as in Will Smith's daughter, and it's a pretty popular clip right now. I'm actually just getting off work, um, getting off from just leaving the gym or just leaving the gym, and I'm going to get some groceries right now before I headed home. So on the way to do that, I wanted to make this quick live just to give my quick opinion. But Willow made a video talking about how nobody really asks anybody out anymore. How, basically, God, I can't see. I can't even see my phone. That sun is bright. Okay, let me get to the point. Willow was talking about how nobody really asks anybody out anymore. How men kind of, all right, don't hit me, lady. How men don't really ask women out on dates, and she was basically expressing how nobody asks anybody out on dates anymore. And she said that people still hang out romantically, but nobody really, basically she was saying like nobody really approaches anybody that they don't know, as in like a guy walking up to a woman and basically approaching her and trying to, like, in a romantic way, and then eventually asking her out on a date. She was saying how nobody does that anymore. So I'm going to just briefly give my opinion before I go in here and get a few groceries. So my opinion is, as I've gotten older, when I was in high school, when I started dating at 18 years old, I can honestly say things were, a bit different back then. Turn this camera so. I do believe that men definitely did approach women more. It was just more of a common thing. But I do agree, like, lots of men do not really want to put the effort in to approaching women. I think there's many reasons behind that. But I think one of the biggest reasons that men don't approach women or even ask women out on dates anymore, there's many reasons, but one of the biggest reasons is I believe that, number one, men have been given the impression by women that women, number one, don't actually want to be in committed relationships. The modern women, I believe that men feel like modern women don't want to be exclusive with one partner. There's also polygamy has become a very popular thing, which is kind of like the same concept. And there's been, and I don't hate all feminists, but I dislike the ones that basically try to convince other women to hate men, basically, or to treat men badly. I don't like those kind of feminists, but I'm for, the feminists that, want good things for women in a sense of, just to be happy and healthy in a general sense, in a positive, way that doesn't, attack the male gender, you know what I'm saying? Or try to demasculate them and try to compete with them just to feel more powerful. Um, I don't like that kind of feminist, but I like the feminist that's for women and men. And is for uplifting women without putting down a man or trying to make a man feel weak or feel less because he's a man and he has a penis. So yeah, that. But well, getting back to the point, I believe there's many reasons. And lately in the recent years, there's been a really big, huge movement of women kind of just blatantly saying how they don't need men for anything. It's this big, huge, independent woman era where it's great that you're independent and stuff like that, but men don't walk around bragging about being independent. Like whatever we handle, it's just, as a man, it's just, we see it as just, we're being adults. We don't say I'm an independent man. It's just like we're just handling our adult responsibilities, our bills, working, whatever. You got kids, taking care of your kids. It's not a flex to say I paid my bills on my own, I'm independent. It's just like that's what adults do. It's not a big deal. But again, I do feel like many men are under the impression that women don't actually want commitment. Women don't actually want to get married. The divorce rate is, through the roof. There's so many videos on the internet of women admitting that they have great boyfriends, great partners, great husbands, and then just saying how they feel like something's missing because they feel like, they want to go out there and, find themselves and, go somewhere and, be free. I don't know, I guess. And, lots of men, they're seeing these things and they're just kind of like, well, I did what women told me I was supposed to do as a man. I went out, I became successful. I became a provider. I'm a protector. I take care of myself. I'm healthy. I take care of my kids. I went out and I acquired a house. I got a good job or income. I got a good credit score. I got a nice car, and the da and everything else that women on their checklist say they need a man to have and to be. And a lot of men are doing these things, and then lo and behold, like their wife is like still, or their girlfriend is like, yeah, but it's like this grass is greener on the other side mentality. And the wife just one day just ups and leaves. And, a lot of men, I think they're just not really seeing the point in relationships anymore. A lot of men have admittedly just kind of said they want to just be a side. A lot of men that went from saying that they want a relationship and to get married and to have families to saying, I'll just settle for being a side nigga, basically, because a lot of these men that they're seeing on the internet that are doing all the right things, like providing and protecting, becoming successful, getting the house, the car, the good paying job, owning businesses, women are actually leaving these men, or when a man ends up becoming successful to the point to where a woman doesn't have to work, he can give a woman, the so-called soft life. When a lot of women don't have to work, and they're at home all the time, they get bored. And, unfortunately, a lot of women, when they get bored and their husband is out working all day and all night, and the husband's not there to give them that constant attention and validation, well, they seek that attention and validation from another male, which leads to cheating. So a lot of these men that are working hard to take care of their wife and family are actually getting cheated on, and they're doing all the right things as a man that society told him that he was supposed to do. And what does he get? How does he get repaid? He gets cheated on, he gets left, he gets divorced, And a lot of times that man has to restart his whole life. Sometimes their life gets ruined through divorce, the kids, child support. And these men work so hard to get to a point in life to where they could, give a woman a soft life as they claim that they want, just for that woman to turn back around and say, I'm bored. I need attention from another man. And then ends up getting fucked by some random guy while he's out working, thinking that he's, doing the right thing and taking care of his wife and his family. She's getting fucked by some guy in their bed while he's working, So again, a lot of men, they're hearing about these stories, they're seeing these things. The internet has really exposed a lot. A lot of men have heard other men's stories. A lot of women get online and they brag about using men. They brag about how, they want to just use men for the money. You got people like Shira7. She gets online and she literally instructs women to use men for their money. I've heard her outright basically condone cheating. And she just blatantly, just outright, just basically tells women to, use their men. She basically tells women that it's okay to cheat if another man can do it and your man can't. She preaches about this soft life, but she doesn't really preach anything about, what a woman needs to be for a man. But she tells women to just have all these demands and, expectations from men, and it's just, I watched her channel a few times, and it's like men see that stuff. Like men go on, like this is a thing that women don't understand. When women get on the internet and brag about how they use men or how they cheat on their boyfriend, men are watching these channels. Men are watching these memes, and that's the thing about the internet. See, the internet, they didn't use like before the internet, a lot of this stuff still went on, but it just wasn't really known about. These things have kind of always existed, but the internet kind of just put it right there in your faces, where you can literally watch a show about men's girlfriends or wives or whatever getting caught cheating. They had this show on the internet where guys would like test their girlfriends and vice versa. Men were tested too. And, a lot of these people, they were like, nah, she'll pass. And a lot of these people, because the person thought that the scenario was real, well, a lot of these people's partners ended up, cheating on them on camera. Some of them went as far as to actually fuck the person, because it was like it was basically like an impromptu, but it was a couple of them where the guys that were like playing like the undercover person to test their girlfriend, they actually really did fuck them, and like it was on camera. And I mean, the internet is revealing a lot, and again, a lot of men are seeing a lot of these things, and like a lot of men's perception of women, in my opinion, has completely changed. Like we as men, include myself, I used to see a woman as like a very innocent, person, or a very innocent being, I guess. I don't know. And, the internet has shown a completely different side of women to men. And, you as a man, you really can't unsee that. You really can't unknow that. So now there's this different perception that men have of women, before the internet kind of put, everybody's thoughts out there to see. Like I said, women, they on the internet, you see like lots of interviews and stuff where women, they'll brag about dating. They'll brag about how many bodies they have. They'll brag about, how they cheated on their boyfriend and husband. And I'm just thinking like, y'all know this is the internet. Y'all know that y'all nigga can go back and watch this on the internet, or they can come across it somehow. You know, like, do y'all not think that this information can't like be like seen by your partner, by your husband? And they're like just bragging about it, like, oh yeah, you know, I fucked his best friend, and you know, I'm just like, a lot of people, like, they don't think when they're saying things on the internet, you know. So in conclusion, the reason that I think that men don't approach women and ask women out on dates anymore is because, for one, I believe that men are under the impression that women don't actually want to be in relationships. You know, women don't actually, they're not really looking for, you know, a relationship. Whenever a lot of guys will actually get out their comfort zone and, you know, ask a woman, you know, hey, you want to go out on a date? Or, you know, are you looking at a date and you're looking for a relationship? You know, you kind of always get like this answer of like, yeah, you know, I'm not really looking for nothing serious. No, I'm just, you know, looking for something casual. In other words, I'm just looking for sex. I don't want a relationship. I just kind of just want to just, you know, have casual sex periodically. But I don't want to be in a committed relationship. So a lot of men just feel like, for one, women just want to get fucked. You know, they don't want relationships. They just want to get fucked every now and then. So a lot of men, they just see women now as a booty call. You know, it's like, why ask you out if you just want sex every now and then? Or men feel like, you know, women just want to use them for money. So a lot of men nowadays, again, they've heard out of women's own mouth that, you know, how they basically just expect men to kind of just, you know, pay their bills and give them money and basically be their trick, basically. And so a lot of men have heard these things online, and a lot of men are just like, you know, I'm not here for that. You know, I'm not your man. We're on a date. I'm trying to get to know you. But a lot of women, before they even get to know the man, they're demanding that these men give them money, you know, go out to like the most expensive restaurant and do all this extra, you know, retarded shit. And it's just like, you know, yo, like, I'm just meeting you for the first time. Like, why do I need to do all this extra stuff? So, you know, again, a lot of men, they're basically feeling like women just are out to, you know, use men for money. So in short, I feel like men just feel like there's no real value in dating or approaching women in a classical sense, the way that there used to be. Again, I believe that men simply no longer believe that women actually want to be in a relationship or they want commitment. You know, the levels of infidelity and cheating in relationships is through the roof. Women brag about it. There's songs about cheating. There's songs about infidelity. You know, everything about this modern world just discourages, you know, commitment and exclusivity. Everything just pushes and encourages, you know, hookup culture. And a lot of men, they realize and they understand that so many women have just been, I don't know how to say this in a nice way, just ran through and have slept with so many different guys that, you know, it's really hard for them to make a real connection sexually, because, you know, I believe as well that when women or men consistently have, you know, lots of sexual partners, I feel like it makes it extremely hard to you know, form a really close connection with a romantic partner. And it's hard to even satisfy them in that way because they've had so many different sexual experiences with different people. It's hard to, make that person happy sexually because they've just had so many different partners. And, most women, they always feel like there's somebody better. You know what I'm saying? There's always somebody that can, satisfy them better because they just had so many people. Not to mention you get stuff like soul ties when you sleep around a lot. So I kind of feel like men instinctively feel and understand that it's hard to connect on that level with the woman because a modern woman is very promiscuous. Women didn't used to be, women to an extent, they always kind of, did their thing, but it just wasn't so like, just, crazy like it is now. A lot of women, they're just everywhere. They're just like all over the place when it comes to just, how many partners they have. And, as a man, it's like we understand that, you've slept with some people, but there's some women that just have had, insane amounts of sexual partners. And I think once you get past a certain amount to a man, it's very, very unattractive because we as men, we like to feel like you're exclusively into us, emotionally, romantically, sexually. Like we want to feel like we don't want to just feel like just another dick. We want to feel like the dick. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to just feel like I'm just the guy you're fucking on Friday. You know what I mean? I want to feel like, we're fucking because you really do care about me. Like I'm actually somebody special. If I'm just some other guy you're fucking, it's just like, well, you know what I'm saying? Like, what does that mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what it is for most women nowadays. It's like, you're just one more guy that they're fucking. Used to be like, if you were having sex with a woman, like that was a big deal. Like if y'all were having sex, like that was your partner, that was your woman. You know what I'm saying? That you were hers and she was yours. But now it's just like, yeah, we just have sex, whatever. Like it's just like no big deal, and this is a regular thing now. So yeah, in short, I think that's mainly why like a lot of men, they don't approach women anymore because it's just like they just don't believe in love anymore. They don't believe in relationships. They don't feel like relationships even matter to women. Most men feel like relationships don't even matter to women. They feel like women just want to just, they want to get they want to basically perform the go through the motions of being in a relationship, but without any of the commitment, any of the, exclusivity. They just want the sex without any strings attached, and most men have just said, well, I'll just be a side nigga because at least if I'm the side nigga, I can't get cheated on because I'm the one that you're cheating with, basically. Most men have said nowadays, I don't want no relationship. I just want to smash, just give me them cheeks. Let me crack a little bit every now and then you can go home to your nigga you cheating on. And then, you know what I'm saying? It's like, in other words, I don't want to be the guy that's getting cheated on. I just want to be the guy that's getting cheeks. There's so many horror stories out there of men doing the right things and getting cheated on still. I just feel like men they don't see the point in relationships, which means and translates to, I also don't see the point in approaching you. I don't see the point in going on dates because a lot of women just go on dates they go on dates to use men for free meals while having no intention of actually getting to know that person. They just want free food. A lot of women will instruct other women to use men for food and meals and money. So the whole point of a man taking a woman out on a date is because he's interested in her romantically, but a lot of women, you should not accept a date from a man if you know that there's no chance that you will ever see him in a romantic way. But a lot of women do this, again, to just get free meals. And a lot of men have just said, enough. I'm tired of getting used. I'm tired of wasting my time. And, I'm not asking no woman out on a date because apparently they just see it as a means to get a free meal and not an opportunity to make a connection, to get to know me. They just want free food. They want free dates. They're bored. The guy that they're really wanting to be with or fuck, he's dating somebody else right now. And, I'm just a placeholder until he's available. Then when he becomes available again, you ghost me and then go back to fucking him. A lot of that's going on too. So men are very aware of all these things. Men aren't stupid. They know exactly what's been going on. And again, the internet has kind of put everything in the limelight and has basically made a lot of the stuff that's been going on, kind of behind the scenes. Women have kind of put their foot in their mouth and kind of showed their hand, so to speak. And men really know a lot of the things that they've been doing to such a large extent now is kind of just turned men off as a whole from the whole dating process, the whole courting process, the whole experience of dating her. Men are just like, I don't want to. I just know it's a no. I don't know. Fuck that. No, you can if like, and a lot of men, and this is something else too. A lot of men that say, it's so hard to tell if a woman is genuinely into me because they're so good at just pretending to get something out of me. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to tell when someone is genuinely interested in me romantically and not just trying to get something out of me. So what a lot of men now are saying is, I'm not going to approach women at all. If she approaches me, I know that she's choosing me. I know that I know that she's not just talking to me because I have a nice car or because, I got money or whatever. If she approaches me, I know that she likes me, she's attracted to me, or there's something about me that she likes. I'm not approached no more because I could be wrong. I could, she might not like me. She might not be attracted to me. So a lot of men have said the only way they're going to deal with women is if the woman approaches them, because that way they know for a fact that she's actually chosen him and not just kind of accepted it to get like a free meal or get some money or something else out of them, So in other words, it's kind of like a way of filtering the women that are genuinely and sincerely interested in them romantically and have a genuine level of attraction, whether it's physical or emotional or energetic or spiritual or whatever. So men now are filtering very carefully the women that they deal with, So anyway, that's my take on that whole video. I didn't mean to drag this video out that long, but I'm very passionate about these topics because a lot of men have actually, in my opinion, they've kind of evolved with how they deal, myself included. I feel like I'm evolving and I have evolved with, how I deal with women and just relationships in general. Like I said in my other video, I'm very careful about, how I deal with women, the women I deal with. I'm very careful about who I let close to me because I understand how detrimental certain women can be for way too much. I understand how detrimental a woman can be to your mental health. So that's why I'm very, very careful about who I let near me and basically into my space. So I'm gonna end this video here, y'all. But yeah, that's my take on the whole Willow video of why men don't really approach women anymore. Women basically just said that a lot of women were just basically just pretty much for a long time saying that they got tired of men approaching them. They got accused of harassment and Which, I mean, some of that stuff did happen. You know, there were some men that were harassing women, but it turned into a thing of like all women were like out to make all men out to be creepy and, you know, just weirdos for, you know, normally approaching attractive women that they found attractive, you know. So men just said, well, fuck that. Anyway, I'm gonna end this here, y'all. You have a good day. Later.